Hey there folks, this is GreenyXI welcoming you right back to Let's Play Umineko. This is episode 137. In the last episode, we discovered, or we saw Angie being taken to the game of truth that was hidden away in Beatrice's casket in the funeral kind of thing. Or, I think it was in the casket, or around it, or somewhere around there anyway. But it looks like we're not going straight to them yet. Let's see how it goes. The discussions over Burncastle's reasoning game were getting passionate at each of the tables. At some point, each table had started competing to see which could solve it first. We saw a bit of this before, didn't we? Burncastle? Haven't Angie and Erica arrived yet? They should have been here by now. Want to make a bet on who arrives first? I can understand Erica being late, but what about Angie? Just what kind of pit did you toss her into this time? How rude. She's sitting on a sofa, sipping tea. Hopefully the sort of tea you drink suits Angie's tastes. Yeah, good point. How rude. That tea would suit anyone's tastes. Erica would even lick the last drop of my tea from the bottom of a miso pot. Now part of me's dying to ask how miso comes into this picture. Still, it's Erica. This will be a long-awaited reunion. That's right, come to think of it. Can't wait to see how long it'll take her to solve Burncastle's game. This sort of game is what the kid's best at. She'll probably read it from start to finish 3 times, then just say the answer right away. Probably. I look forward to seeing her give the correct answer immediately, with that smug look on her face. Come now, this is Erica we're talking about. She'll probably pull out some twisted logic and say that it was possible for someone other than Battler's family. Good point. In fact, I'd like to hear her proud, twisted logic even more than the right answer. Apparently, Battler and Beto were looking forward to their reunion with Erica. They had already duelled with Erica in 2 separate games, but now there was no distinction between foes and allies. They truly wanted to welcome her to this party after the show, as a friend. Still, it's a bit unexpected. What is? You know, it's surprising that you'd let Angie go this easily. Making sure the Battler and the others couldn't see her face, Lambda Delta sniggered. Is it really so surprising? Of course it is. I thought that being you, you'd torture Battler with one tough puzzle after another before releasing her. Or that you'd at least try to give Angie some weird ideas and have her turn the game around in the end. And I thought I knew you better than anyone else in the world. So embarrassing that I was wrong. I'm sure it is. But don't worry. You obviously do know me better than anyone else in the world. Yeah, of course. After all, I love, adore and understand you more than any other person in the universe. Lambda Delta was flustered by Burncastle's apparently friendly words, which were very rare coming from her. Battler-sama, pardon me for interrupting your conversation. Angie-sama has returned. Oh, she's back? Great. So, is she okay? It seems that she was soaked by the rain, but Kumasawa is bringing her a towel now. When Battler heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he turned to face Burncastle, showing her a forced smile as though apologising for still suspecting her just a little. Burncastle showed no reaction and simply continued to wear a blank expression with a slight smile. Angie-sama has returned. I'm back. It's Midget Angie. Battler. Angie's back. Angie, I'm glad you're okay. I was worried. She stared at Battler as he dashed towards her with a relieved smile. Angie's expression seemed somehow indifferent. That Battler. Looks like he thought I had you hanging by chains in a cave or something. No. I didn't think you'd go that far. I was just having some tea at the house of one of Burncastle's friends. It was delicious. Did it have dried plums or miso in it? Of course not. As Angie spoke bluntly, she walked right past her brother and exchanged a few whispered words with Burncastle. What is it, Battler? Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. If he said he was lonely because his little sister was being so cold, Peter would either laugh at him or scratch him. Scratch him? After all, Angie was a girl at that age. She might be in a bad mood for reasons a boy like him couldn't understand. Taking note of this, and having satisfied himself that Angie was okay, he made to walk away. Battler, Angie is calling for you. Oh, sorry. I've been trying to get your attention for a while. Don't ignore me. I wasn't really ignoring you. What's going on with you, anyway? You've looked like you were in a bad mood for a while now. I imagine Burncastle gave you something strange to drink and pretended it was some rare sort of black tea. Yeah, I have no business with you. Back off for a bit, would you? I want to talk to Oni-chan alone. Come, I may not look it, but I'm the wife of the Territory Lord. I'm already far closer to Battler than... Sorry, Beto. Would you mind leaving for just a bit? By now, Battler realised that Angie's issue was more than just a slight bad mood. Beto puffed out her cheeks as though she wanted to say something more. However, she just let it out with a sigh and walked away. Is this okay? It is. After all, this game is between me and you, right? I'm the player. You're the game master. No matter how many pieces get between us, in the end, it's still a direct battle between you and me. Well, it's true that I'm the game master, but it's not like I'm fighting against you or anything. This final game was held so you could be invited to the Rokkenjima of 1986. Games are played to decide who wins and who loses. There can be no game unless you have foes and allies. Don't try to trick me. What are you talking about all of a sudden? You had me totally fooled. At first I actually thought you'd take me to that day in 1986, but that wasn't true. This has all been a farce you created, hasn't it? You're using this sentimental tale to dodge the issue and leave me confused. You're trying to chase me out into a lonely future with nothing but this cheap happiness as a parting gift. There's just one thing I've been after since the beginning. What happened on Rokkenjima that day? And the only answer you gave me was this game. This sentimental party of illusions. It's obvious how you're going to try and answer my question now. I want the truth. And you aren't going to give it to me. Angie, listen, you've got it wrong. Don't try and trick me. This game is the final fight between me and you. I want the truth of that day. And you're trying to hide it behind an illusion. It's exactly the same. The setup's no different than those fights between you and Beto. I was about to be traced out to the Gameboard with everything still vague and fuzzy because of you. Sorry, but I've already figured out that this game is a battle. Don't think you'll trick me so easily anymore. Angie's shout tore apart the peaceful atmosphere. The family members and illusions gulped and watched the scene, wondering what was going on. Beto tried to run up to Battler, but he motioned for her to stay back. What is it you want? It's only one thing I've ever wanted. Does she have to say it again, like, the truth of Rokkenjima in 1986? That's all I'm looking for. The truth is sealed within the cat box. It can't be reached by someone outside the cat box like you. Is that why you're trying to trick me with this sentimental illusion? Yes, this is an illusion. However, I wanted you to remember this fun atmosphere, the harmony within your family. It's not about what happened on that island that day. I wanted you to remember the warmth of these family conferences, a warmth you forgot. That's just an illusion you're trying to impose on me. I'll reject it and deny it completely. There is no truth of 1986. The cat box is empty inside. You're looking for something that doesn't exist. I won't be tricked anymore. The truth of that day does exist. It was written down by the sole survivor and preserved to this very day. Battler's expression faltered for just an instant, and Angie didn't miss it. So he was hiding it after all. Oni-chan has been hiding the book of the single truth from me. And Eva, for the first time since your death, I'd like to express my gratitude. Because you wrote down what happened that day, you gave me one last chance at learning the truth. Angie-chan, you have to listen to me. Everything I wrote in that diary is nonsense. It doesn't mean... There's no point trying to deceive me. It's already been proven in red that your diary has the truth of that day in it. Absurd. How could anyone but Battler, the Game Master, use the red truth? It's Aurora, isn't it? That's right. The Book of the Single Truth exists in 1998, the world of the future. Who else could perform the crucial role of confirming its contents with the red truth? I heard everything from Burncastle. I've been fooled by you long enough. I don't want some sentimental illusion. I want the real truth. And no matter how hard you try to cover it up in 1986, I can expose it in 1998. After all, you are the Beatrice of 1986, Oni-chan, And I am the Beatrice of 1998. Are we going into it? A cyclone rose up around Angie. It was a golden swirl of gold butterflies, just like the Golden Witch Beatrice. I've aged! I am Angie Beatrice of 1998, the final Golden Witch. No witch of the past can defeat a witch of the future. The cyclone of gold broke apart, and as gold leaves scattered across the room, the final witch, who would inherit Beatrice's name in the future, appeared. Angie Beatrice? You're the golden and endless witch, but I'm different. I'm the Golden Witch of truth. No illusion can stand in my way. Yes, this is the end of Oni-chan's boring party. Now it's time for my party to start. I've even readied a game to liven things up. You're up, Aunt Eva. Huh? When Angie snapped her fingers, she vanished along with a swirl of gold butterflies. Replacing her in the middle of that cyclone was a girl wearing a dress, bowing modestly. I'm surprised she could ever be modest. You! That's pretty rude, you know. Inviting everyone to the party except me. You're Eva, the sole survivor of Rockanjima, and the witch of the future, the golden and endless witch from 1986 to 1998. In the world of the future, Batlacoon's sentimental illusion is more fragile than a flick of snow on a lake. Okay, let's have some fun. Come, try to remember, all of you. Remember your endless theory making. When Eva held her hand to the heavens, light gathered there and took the form of a bottle. Yes, a bottle. A glass bottle with no label. There was no alcohol inside. Sealed within it was a fragment that led off a pale, sinister light. Battler, this is bad. She must not smash that bottle. Okay, it's showtime! The bottle was slammed against the floor and smashed to pieces. As soon as the fragment within it touched the outside air, it flashed white and burst. At first it seemed that nothing had happened. However, Eva grinned at them before becoming a cloud of butterflies and vanishing. At some point, Burncastle must have vanished as well. What did she do? It was probably a fragment she brought back with her from the world of the future. Perhaps we could call it the contents of the cat box in the future. What's all that mean? What? At that moment, they heard a thundering roar. It was as though large chunks of hail had started falling everywhere. An earthquake accompanied that noise, and the whole mansion creaked. Dust began to fall from the ceiling. At the same time, it seemed as though the curtain-covered window glowed with a pale light. What on earth is going on? Kyrie, look outside. What the hell is that? Everyone rushed to the window in response to her voice. Of course, Battler and Beta went too. Then they drew the curtains, looked at the scene outside, and were stunned into silence. How beautiful. Kinzo's words echoed the first impression felt by all who looked out at the scene beyond the windows. Not all beauty is benign. They always say that beauty has thorns near. Though everyone found the scene beautiful, they all sensed impending misfortune from it. Outside the window, countless small objects, pale glowing fragments of crystals, lay strewn about everywhere like fallen hail. The word fantastical perfectly summed up the scene that lay before them in the glowing rose garden. I saw something move over there. Hey, is there someone over there? Wait, huh? A person just grew out of that glowing fragment. Seven Sisters of Purgatory, battle formation! With those words of Lucifer's, everyone finally realised that they were being surrounded by danger. How's the goats? One by one, the countless fragments shook and burst, and large dark bodies rose up from inside each. They were giants with goat heads. One after another they appeared from the insides of broken fragments. Those fragments lay all over the rose garden in vast numbers and made the ground glow so that everyone inside was forced to shudder. 45. Wide area surveillance. My radar's filled with white. We're either being jammed or the vast number of readings is making a count of enemy numbers impossible. Even as she said this, the glowing rose garden outside the window was being filled with giant goats. The fragments carrying the goats weren't just in the rose garden. They were spread evenly across the entire island. Not just the rose garden, but the entire area outside, around the mansion was being covered with goats by now. Allow us to speak. Know that we are completely surrounded. Yeah, we noticed. Kihihi. What you do now, Battler? Only one thing to do with uninvited guests. Let's chase them off. Who are these people? I'm guessing these aren't your minions, right, Beto? The goat forms they hold are probably just imitations of the pieces on this game board. They aren't Rishi's or Leah's minions. This is something worse. I see. So they are manifestations of message bottles. Message bottles? The ones Beto made? Not quite. These are fragments of what people in the future have imagined. Endless possibilities are hidden within the cat box. Because of that, those outside the box can imagine the insides to be any one of an infinite number of things. It would seem those endless delusions are the true form of these creatures. What will those goats do to us, I wonder? It doesn't look like they're here to give us a handshake and a pat on the back. Those people, those lowlifes, making up and passing around stories, imagining the tragedies that might have unfolded around us on this island. They found it so fascinating that I never talked about the truth, that they kept on creating tragedies one after another for their own enjoyment. I see. So they're fragments from the future, imagining the cat box of 1986 however they please. In the world of the future, any and all interpretations can and do exist. Unless we deny them, everyone will be able to claim that their own view is the truth, and they will remain on this island. Ha! What a fix we're in. Looks like we're surrounded and fighting for our lives. Alright, this seems like nonsense to me, but we'll roll with it. What are they doing? They're eating. They're eating something. They're eating the roses. The crowd of goats was squirming about and doing something. If you looked closely, you could see them sticking their heads into rose bushes and munching away. And it wasn't just rose bushes. Light poles, the bricks of the flower beds, and even the stone paving itself. They were biting all of it, almost as if they were trying to eat up the whole island. No, they aren't just eating. If they aren't eating, what are they doing? That's not eating. They are eroding it, shaving away at the edges of the game board itself. They're eating the game board? In the world of the future, everyone believes we were swallowed up by tragedy today. That's why they won't accept the truth where we enjoy ourselves in peace. Truths of the past are subordinate to truths of the future. The merciless future fangs and jaws of those goats refuse to accept our truth and are eroding it, replacing it with the kind of truth they expect. Damn it. This is our truth. It's not for those people in the future, who have nothing to do with us anyway, to rewrite as they please. The garden outside the window was now filled with too many goats to count, all chewing away. This repulsive scene stole the words from everyone's lips. They weren't stunned into silence. There was just no point in making a fuss and letting the goats know a certain fact. No point in letting them know that there was plenty of prey waiting in this bright warm room, prey that was softer and easier to chew than roses or bricks. That goat there, he's looking at us. Silence, don't make a fuss. It's coming this way. Dear me, this does not look good. No, it doesn't look too good. I'll agree with you there. They saw one of the newly born goats head slowly towards their window. There was already a huge swarm of them in the garden, so it was no surprise that when one of them looked around for new prey, it would see the light from this window. Its immense, eerie body slowly approached. As it grew closer, they could finally see it clearly. The eyes blazed, despite being cold, ruthless, and reptilian. Those cruel fangs and jaws could tear apart and crush anything. Any fangs that could chew through brick would hardly have a problem chewing through humans. Its massive body had to be taller than the windows themselves, and it was lumbering towards this window. If only this window was made out of special Shurumaya bulletproof glass. I doubt even bulletproof glass would stop that thing. Wah! It's coming! It's coming! It's running towards us! Allow me to speak. Know that this window shall not be breached. The power of Cornelia's seal formed a shield around the glass. The goat was blown back, unable even to touch the glass because of his power. Its weight made the earth tremble. They could feel that clearly, even inside. But that tremor had also drawn the attention of the nearby goats. A pack of goats started shuffling towards them, and a fight broke out as they each charged forward, trying to reach this new prey first. The window protected by Cornelia's seal would probably be safe. However, there were many windows in the Great Hall. For the first time, those windows became a source of terror instead of sunlight and a lovely view. Gertrude. Allow me to speak. Know that this window shall not be breached. Gertrude sealed another window. The goats trying to break in through that one were thrown back. But at the same time, they heard the crash of yet another window being smashed. Scattering fragments of glass everywhere, the massive goats broke through the window frame and entered the building. Oh shit, they actually got in. Well, he actually looks like him. If you... Wah! Stay back. Everyone stay back. On the first twilight, the 6 chosen by the key. Those words really were coming from the goat's mouth, along with a steaming foul breath. However, it didn't get a chance to say anymore. Forehead, neck, shoulder, chest, side, gut, knee. The stakes of the 7 sisters buried themselves in deep, one after another. But rough, unappetizing flesh for piercing. I'd hate to have to gobble up any more of these. The other windows shattered one after another, and several goats squeezed their way in through the window frames. And I don't know why I'm getting impressions of like Resi 4 when you're in the cabin and they break through the window. It's how weird. Their mouths were still stuffed with the bricks they had just been snacking on. Each time they chewed, it made a ghastly sound like bones being crushed. Nom. We will repel them. Jester troops, prepare for close-range combat. Stop. You start firing away, and we'll have all the other goats coming to join the party. Let's fall back to the 2nd floor. If we can seal the staircase, that'll buy us some time. Everyone upstairs. Hurry. After sniffing noisily as though scanning the smells around them, the goats started chewing on whatever chairs, tables or curtains were close by. The goats would chew anything to bits as long as it was near them. If the others were careful not to attract the goats' attention, they would be able to escape from this place. The humans ran on ahead up to the 2nd floor, while the illusions, who were used to fighting, guarded the rear. The goats were completely absorbed by their feast on everything in the hall. By now they were even brutally chewing away at the portrait of Beatrice, who could fairly be called the symbol of the Shurumaya family itself. They can't eat that! That's the symbol of the game entirely, like... Battler, the humans have all taken refuge on the 2nd floor. Good. Glanna, seal all the staircases. Gertrude and Cornelia will handle it. It? Not the clown. Oh, not quite. You know what I mean. However, they need more time. All over the mansion, there were loud beating sounds that might be called knocks and the sound of shattering glass. Well now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for work. 7 Sisters of Purgatory, right here. Let's go, you lowlifes. Tonight it's all you can eat. Jester troops, halt all external tasks. Cancel automatic updates, accept no data, take no prisoners. Izerna Jungfrau of the 7th District. By the Territory Lord's order, carry out your duty. I'll lend a hand. Leon, you're in the way. Go up to the 2nd floor. But Will... Leave this to us and go. You have your own job to do. Protect your family. I understand. Everyone, stay safe. The mansion was filled with the sounds of knocking, crushing, smashing, chewing. The goats and their wave of destruction was drawing steadily closer. Lord Battler, Gertrude and Cornelia have finished sealing the other staircases. The large staircase here is the only one that remains. The other staircases are tiny, so they went fast. On the other hand, this staircase is huge. Looks like you'll have your hands full by in time. Lambda Delta spoke as though it was someone else's problem. It only took a glance at her face to see that she had no intention of lending a hand. Even so, Beto didn't scold her. This was a game between Battler and Angie. Lambda Delta was only a theatre goer who had been invited. Don't think badly of me. Even I'd die if I was torn apart by nothingness. Sorry, but I think I'll stick to being an observer. That's what you've always been. Though it is a shame that we can't ask for your help. Nah, she's being nice. Doesn't want to steal our show. Sure, let's call it that. As a Voyager witch, Lambda Delta could retreat from this gameboard of battlers if she wanted to. In other words, she was the only one who wasn't in trouble now. See you later. I think I'll watch this game between you and Byrne till the end. I'll be rooting for you. As you munch on popcorn? Of course. I think I'll have some soy sauce butter flavour today. Oh. Lambda Delta vanished with a pop. As soon as she did, a black hole opened up in midair and Gap fell out of it. Bala, Richie, could you come here for a second? You should probably see this. Right now? Yes. Let's go. Everyone, we're counting on you to hold this position. When Gap snapped their fingers, a large hole opened up and Battler and Beto swallowing them both. They were spat out into an inky blackness. Both of them were floating in the night sky. Wakajima lay far beneath them. And as soon as they realised this, they shuddered. It's not just a crowd, it's a sea. It's a sea of goats. A goat sea. It was no longer a crowd of goats, but an entire sea of them. Just as Wakajima poked out from the ocean, the mansion was now poking out from a sea of goats. People in the future really are amazing. Just how many of them have imagined the tragedy on this island? It's nothing more than the worthless drivel of those outside the cat box. Let's clean this place up. Look over there. It's hard to tell, but look at the shoreline. The shoreline? It's easy to make out the harbour. Look closely. See it? Don't tell me. Yeah, you're probably right. They're eating it. They're eating the shore. Eating the whole island. I'm getting Uzumaki vibes for some reason. That sort of creepy Junji Ito stuff. Come, try and remember fragments from the future. If only you just chew up all the embellishment, all the illusions, all the fantasy. As Eva yelled this to the heavens, hovering about the raging sea, hail fell down with a pale glow. Each was an unlabelled bottle with a fragment inside. They poured onto the island, were smashed to bits, and the fragments inside them scattered everywhere. Every now and then the fragments would split in two, then split in two again. Every single one of them burst and gave birth to a massive goat. Yeah. To say it was like bamboo shoots springing up after the rain would be a vast understatement. The goats writhed about like bubbling, boiling water in a pot. They ate away at everything they saw. They didn't just eat the harbour, but the trees and rocks, the entire coastline itself. Hundreds, thousands, no, tens of thousands of goats continued to eat. They were chewing away at every bit of Rokkenjima of this final game the battler had prepared. Aha! Too bad, Battler-kun. The future wants a tragedy on this island. Even Angie wants the truth. Don't worry, we'll chew up all the embellishment, illusions, and fantasy for you. By now, Battler and the others had to admit it. The future wanted a tragedy. Even if the truth of this island had been a gentle, peaceful thing. The future didn't want that. The truth they wanted was painting over the past. The past is such a fragile thing. Even the cat box is being chewed apart. Just who are these people? Are they really so determined to plunge us into a tragedy? That's all I wanted to show you. Hope this helps a bit when you're making strategic decisions. Yeah, thanks. Now I feel like crap. Then let's go to the study next if you don't mind. Goldsmith wants to talk to you. Gap snapped their fingers and another black hole swallowed them up and spat them out in the study. Oh, wow. Gap, if you're going to drop me, at least do it on a bed. Grandfather, we're in trouble. There's absolutely nowhere left to go. I know. And even waiting out the storm from here is not an option. Ronover and the others should be able to buy us some time, but that's all. If they just holed up in the mansion, it would be a matter of time before the swarm of goats got them. Trying to repel a few of the goats barging into the mansion would be like using a cup to bail water from a boat with a hole in it. We can fight defensively for a while, but it's only a matter of time. We need to think of something while we fight. Can we escape? Where to? Is there any way for us to leave the game board? The outside of the game board is beyond the range of our territory. Only a Voyager witch could leave. Only Burncastle and Lambda Delta could do it. However, there was no way Burncastle would help. Even Lambda Delta had already announced that she would be an observer instead of lending a hand. So there's nowhere left to run. No, there's just one place. Where? The Golden Land. Oh, are they finally going there? Again? I feel like we've seen it before, but I don't know if it was the actual truth of it all. You know, this game doesn't tell you the truth in a straightforward way. Is that our only option now? Indeed. The Golden Land's the most impenetrable place on this game board. If we wish to escape, it's that or nothing. These things are eating the cat box itself. For all we know, they might start chewing away at the Golden Land itself at any moment. What should we do, Battler? No point thinking about it. We're retreating. If we take too long to make a decision, even that road will be close to us. Evacuate everyone. How can we open the door to the Golden Land? I just have to open it. However, an immense wave of the anti-magic toxin is emanating from that crowd of goats. It'll take some time to open the door. So we've only got to protect this study with our lives until the door's open. Just have to keep doing what we've been doing. There's only one more problem. The door to the Golden Land cannot be shut unless two people close it from the outside. Two from the outside? What do you mean? As soon as he said this, Battler realised. This must be the result of some agreement made between the three witches who are one. Normally there's no need to go to the trouble of shutting the door. But it won't be so easy this time. Only you and Beto can fulfill the role of shutting the door. Me as the territory lord and Beto. Yeah, sounds like the safest choice. Indeed. If it's just the two of us, we might even be able to protect ourselves. Okay, open the door. Beto waved her pipe, leaving the golden trail behind as she sliced the air vertically. Then the gap of the door to the Golden Land appeared. It looked like nothing more than a thin golden string hanging from the ceiling. I like the yellow background there. If you look closely, you could see that the string was getting thicker very slowly. The door to the Golden Land certainly was opening, but so slowly that you couldn't even tell if you weren't careful. At this rate, it would probably take quite some time before it grew big enough to let a person through. Grandfather, Gap, will need you to be our inner line of defense. Yeah, there may be goats climbing up the outer walls. Very well. Oh god, those eyes. My rifle hungers for some prey. Understood. It'll be fun dropping those things into the abyss. Oh, hello. A giant was sliced at an angle, split into two parts, and fell to the floor, showering it with filthy, dark blood and guts. Splendidly done. I'll let you take the next one. Countless massive goats, which had forced their way in from windows and rooms all across the mansion, wandered about in search of something to chew. Several of the goats noticed the group of people huddled around the staircase and lumbered closer, but they were pulverized by merciless attacks. Ronover's shields easily halted the charging goats, and Virgilia's magic spears were pinning the giants against the walls. Glanna's and Will's blades were also slicing easily through the goats. The pinpoint strikes of the Seven Sisters Purgatory could pierce the vitals of and finish off any opponent, no matter how large. The Chester sisters were holding their own too. They had blasted enough goats to bits with one shot from their high-caliber firearms that you couldn't count the kills with both hands. Given a limited number of opponents, they were more than a match for these goats. However, they weren't just up against a crowd, but an entire ocean. It was like a pebble trying to face the approaching waves of a stormy sea. Hurry on that gun barrel replacement, requesting cover from the Purgatory troops. So you run out of ammo and you're nothing but rabbits. Lame. I don't want to hear that from a bunch of 7 paperweights who can only kill one person at a time, yeah? Yeah, keep them coming. Don't let us get bored. The hall was filled with massive goat corpses. As if in fear of this sight, the goats that came in one after another formed a wall, keeping their distance. Perhaps they think they're no match for us. I wish that were true, but it seems to be little more than wishful thinking. What are those guys doing? They're looking at us and whispering to each other. Apparently, they have the intelligence to talk together and cooperate. The goats surrounding them at a distance and whispering. Then they nodded at each other as though deciding something, and the whole group stirred. What are they doing? Almost looks like they're lining up in a different order. The enemy is changing its formation. It appears that the individuals with greater destructive power are being gathered in the front lines. So what? Let's go! Yes, Oni-sama. Wait, something's wrong. Lose foot aim at one of them, going for its forehead. The other 6 sisters followed her lead, trying to pierce the vital organs all over the creature's body. However, there was no sound of pierced flesh. The 7 sisters of Purgatory were knocked back, unable to cause even the smallest wound. What? What just happened? Those guys are talking about something. The goats kept whispering the same thing, over and over as they slowly approached the 7 sisters. All of them whispered unanimously. All fantasy is fictional. The 7 sisters of Purgatory are illusions, personifying stakes for ceremonial sacrifices. They're actually paperweights. They're actually paperweights. As they whispered curses that denied the 7 sisters' existence, the goats lumbered closer. Get back, Purgatory troops. We'll cover you. It's time you learned a lesson, goats. Whoa. It's all killing. The golden bows of the Chester troops mowed down the ball of goats with shower of bright golden bullets. Some of the goats were torn to pieces, but some of them seemed completely unaffected. Then the goats who were uninjured all whispered as one. The Chester sisters' Imperial Guards have Maria's rabbit dolls as their vessels. They're actually rabbit dolls. Maria's imagination, fantasy, fictional beings. All of the crimes can be explained by mystery. All fantasy is irrelevant. I sort of agree by this point, I just want to know what happened, really. Looks like we've got lots of people who won't accept the existence of magic. And that means no magical attacks will have any effect on them. Does that mean all of our attacks will be completely useless? Endless 9, yeah. If they don't accept that we exist, our attacks can't hurt them, yeah? Is that possible? We'll have to test it. One of us stepped forward, stamped on the floor twice, and a red barrier rose up in front of him. The crowd of goats dashed into it with a terrifying force. While some goats were blown away by it, several of them slipped right through the magical barrier. Ronove is a creature of magic, a creature of fiction. Genji is Ronove's vessel. It's an imaginary version of Genji. I see, so even my attacks will not affect some of them. There is no longer any point in Virgilia trying out her magic spear. Now that some of the goats had decided that her existence was fictional, she could no longer hurt them. Even these great demons and great witches, as well as high-level furniture and weapons, were overcome with fear of the crowd that surrounded them, a crowd that would not be affected by any of their attacks. What are we gonna do? We'll keep fighting until the end. You don't have permission to die in battle. Fantasy is all fiction. Fantasy is all fiction. Fantasy is all fiction. A shriek from one of the goats became a signal for the wall of them to break. They pushed forward with gaping mouths and foul breath, each trying to reach their prey first, trying to return these fictional creatures to nothingness. Look out. Virgilia leapt in front of and held several of the 7 sisters who had fallen on their butts, overpowered by the ferocity of the approaching goats. However, even Virgilia was a fictional character to these goats. They could chew through her like cotton candy. Well, if they can chew through brick, I mean. Madam, quickly. Ronove threw himself at the oncoming goats. Even he would be chewed apart easily. Knowing this, Ronove leapt forward, Even if my magic no longer functions, I'm still the fiercely passionate and loyal man I always was. And furthermore, did you expect that I would simply sit by and watch a lady die? Run away is fantasy. Run away is fantasy. Ronaway slammed his right fist into the side of a goat's face. As soon as he pulled it back, he swung his left leg into the goat's gut and spun around into a reverse roundhouse that caught the goat again. Ronaway knew he could do less damage than a mosquito bite against those who didn't accept his existence. This was the height of anti-magic defensive power, Endless 9. Ronaway's fantasy, a fiction, an illusion. The goat swung its log-like fist with a sound like a storm. Ronaway dodged by a hair. Had he been an instant slower, that massive arm would have crushed his head like glass. Ronaway, stop this, run! I, Ronaway, cannot help but rise to the challenge when I see a lady in a pinch. A bad habit of mine. Ronaway grinned and tried to act tough. He had already sacrificed all he had. There was nothing he could do here and now, except become a shield to buy time. He had already chosen to abandon his life for this. Ronaway's fantasy, he couldn't exist. He couldn't possibly exist. Illusions do not exist. They do not exist. Fantasy is all ridiculous. Ridiculous. The goats kept coming, trying to feast on Ronaway. None had any pretensions of making this a one-on-one fight. Nothing mattered except chewing apart fantasy, even just a nibble. As they gnashed those ruthless jaws and fangs, they closed in around Ronaway. Ronaway's foot hit something and he stumbled. At the same instant, several massive arms reached out and lifted him up. Ronaway-sama. What are you doing, Chesters? Shoot them. If that'd do anything, we would have done it already. Yeah. Everyone, please stand back. I should be able to buy you some time as they savour my flesh. However, I think they'll find that Ronaway has quite a few little bones in him. An elbow rammed itself into the massive, hideous jaws that were trying to chew Ronaway's head. Of course, the goat did moan, but that did nothing but deprive just one goat of his right to the first bite of Ronaway's head. Many jaws opened wide, trying to crush him and throw him down into those heartless stomachs which would permit no cheerful illusions to exist. I won't accept fantasy. Won't accept. It's possible to explain everything with mystery. Possible. Fantasy's fake. Everything's mystery. Ooh, who's coming? All of the many arms that lifted Ronaway up were sliced off. The seven sisters used this chance to fly forward and grab Ronaway, dragging him back. Ah, oh, yeah. Is it? Which of you mentioned mystery? Does Lana's blade work on them? I see, if our foes are calling it a mystery. Blood-red longsword in hand, Lana slowly walked forward. Behind her walked Will, tapping his back with his black blade. If you don't think this is a fantasy, then let's have your theories. I can't wait to hear your explanations. The crowd of goats stepped back. Though they had been so vicious against the illusions, they stepped back when faced with this pair, wielding swords of mystery. There have been a great many closed room murders on this game board. Choose whichever you please, and we will parry all of your attacks. No, we don't have to defend anything. Indeed, the purpose of a mystery is to offer a challenge. There's no need for us to play defense. Do you get it yet? You're the ones in the hot seat now. Blue truth kept the goats apart. That blue truth dwelt within each and every one of the riddles from Beto's game so far. What about the closed room with the chain? First game, second twilight. What about the closed room of the chapel? Second game, first twilight. What about the trick to killing Nanjo? Third game, ninth twilight. There was no end to the blades. Countless riddles Beatrice had left behind became blades, challenges that tore the goats apart. If they wanted to deny fantasy, they would have to make a counter-argument. They would have to deal with every single trick as a mystery. However, while most of the goats called themselves anti-fantasy, they hadn't thought up any answers for the mystery. though every now and then goats with answers did appear. Someone outside the Ishramaya family was hiding on the island, and Nox is first. It's forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story. There are multiple culprits all working separately, and it just happened to look like a single culprit. Van Dyne's 12th. There must be but one true culprit. Do you mean everything but that is forbidden? Boring, right? To have a genre like that. Personally, I think mystery should be more flexible. The 10 Nox commandments and the 20 Van Dyne rules are behind the times. The definition of the mystery genre should change with the era. And now they get uppity. Perhaps we are behind the times. In that case, let's see if you have any theories that can satisfy us. Come. The whole crowd of goats charged them. In their fangs, each of them carried theories to crush Beto's closed rooms. The bodies of these goats differed from those who had become corpses so easily. They had mystery-style answers to several closed rooms, so it would take several blade hits to give them a fatal wound. However, Beto had left many blades behind. All of them were exceedingly sharp, so the pair of Inquisitors didn't think this would be a desperate battle. This is mystery. The goal is to use all your imagination and knowledge to challenge each of the riddles head-on. Doing so is the greatest pleasure of the mystery genre. So they laughed. Both Will and Lana laughed, with smiles of admiration at the theories the goats had put everything they had into. They countered with blades from all the closed rooms. The crowd of goats was no longer an encirclement, but a great wave threatening to swallow the pair up. And yet the pair repelled the enemy without giving an inch. They resisted firmly, cutting through the wave of wailing goats. It was like an ice-breaking ship, knocking a path through a frozen sea. They entered the closed room through a hidden passage that no one else could use, and Nox's third forbidden for hidden passages to exist. After the hidden passage was used, it was wielded shut and became unusable, so no hidden passages existed at the time of the inspection. Nox's 8th is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. These are all fake murders, so no one's actually dead. So all closed rooms were constructed by the so-called victims. Lana hesitated for just an instant. After all, this cliched and simple theory managed to get around both Beto's closed rooms and the Nox commandments. Lana saw nothingness inside the goat's massive jaws. Van Dyne's 7th. It's forbidden to have a crime without a corpse. The goat's jaws seemed to close around Lana's head. However, the upper and lower jaws were no longer connected, so the upper half merely slid off to the side. I guess even the great Nox forgot to forbid fake murders. There are many splendid mysteries besides murder. The goats weren't about to back off and let the pair have a nice long chat about the mystery genre. The next massive figure immediately enveloped them. Will's blade drew a diagonal slash across its chest, but it only cut through its clothes, leaving no wound. 20 wedges don't work on this one. Lana also hit it with a longsword, but still, it just cut its clothes without leaving a mark on its body. Could the goat have a theory that doesn't violate Nox or Van Dyne? Nox and Van Dyne are meaningless. All closed rooms can be explained by a single solution. After all, in an attempt to stop the goat from saying any more, Will and Lana hit it with blades from every closed room, as well as sticks from the 10 commandments and the 20 rules. But none of them had any effect. Slowly the goat clenched its massive fists together and raised them up high. After all. Will. With a roar, Will slammed into the goat giant with his body. Though its massive bulk bent back slightly, Will was still leaping into a death trap. However, if he hadn't done so, he wouldn't have been able to protect Lana. The goat grabbed Will. It lifted him up and held him high in the air. It was like a little kid showing off his favourite toy and waving it around. Let's hear your theory. If I'm to hear a great theory before I die, it'll be a fitting end for a right. Van Dyne and Nox are useless for making theories. Yeah. The goat's massive hands closed on Will like a vice. All the bones in Will's body were creaking. Let's hear your theory. There's no need for a theory. What? After all, making theories for any of Beatrice's games is a waste of time. What do you mean? This isn't an orthodox mystery, so thinking about it is just a waste of time. I won't accept Beatrice's game as a mystery. There are no answers to the tricks. It's all just an illusion. Thinking is just a waste of time? Will's head was lowered, so his face couldn't be seen. However, the arm of the goat holding him was shaking. The embrace of those log-sized arms with superhuman strength was being slowly pushed away by Will's shaking arms. Thinking is just a waste of time? You say that and you call yourself a mystery novel reader? Grr. The mystery genre is like chivalry. You fight with the noble rules you've created with pride in the stance you've taken. Is it worth being a coward if it'll help you win? Does losing make the whole fight meaningless if you fought with everything you had? This isn't about winning and losing, it's about applauding the will to fight, even in the most dire circumstances. The goat's arms were now spread wide, and it looked as though Will was now the one pushing it back. Will's face was covered in shadow and couldn't be seen. People like you, who call themselves mystery readers, even though they never even try to solve mysteries, you're the ones I really can't stand. Will slammed his forehead into the goat's now unprotected head. If you call yourself a mystery reader, be proud to join in on a battle of wits. If you call yourself a mystery reader, it's about time you realised. Giving up is nothing to brag about. Will hit it with his head over and over again. His forehead had been torn apart by the goat's fangs, but he kept on hitting it. Van Dyne and Knox may be behind the times. The mystery genre does progress with time just like the world around it. However, there's one thing that never changes. That is pride. What's the knight proud of? Not victory. He's proud of his courage, which lets him stand up to anyone without fear. Will couldn't forgive the kind of coward who could turn tail from a fight and then brag about it. People who call themselves mystery readers, but who have no pride, are the only people Will just can't stand. The goat, unable to put up with this anymore, threw Will down to the floor. Then he lifted his fists again, determined to crush Will to pieces this time. Come, you probably will beat me to a pulp, but that'll be no victory for you. You'll destroy your own pride with your own hands. Pointless, pointless. This is no mystery, so why make theories? Thinking's just a waste of time. Useless, useless, useless. Die, die, die. A fist like a cannonball swinging down towards him was the very last thing Will saw before he shut his eyes. In this game, if you stop thinking... Oh, Battler. In this game, if you give up, that means you lose, right? Battler smashed his fist into the goat's mouth and smashed teeth bounced off the ceiling. Battler Sama. If you stop thinking, it means you've given up on the story being a mystery, which means, as far as you're concerned, this game is a fantasy. Battler lifted up his arm, realising this was a signal. Lucifer and Chester 00 jumped, so it's back to fantasy being real. If you stop thinking, you don't deserve to be an actor on the stage. Stop trying to sound smart and go eat some popcorn from the stands or something. The goat lifted his fist again and swung it down at Battler like a hammer. If you surrendered to fantasy, that just makes you another target, yeah? It's the same as acknowledging that we exist. Begin recognition of hostile elements. Mark all targets vulnerable to magical attacks in our HMDs. Kids who surrender to fantasy get to deal with us. And if you have a theory, we'll hear it out. We'll welcome those people with open arms. Out of respect for them, we won't hold anything back. Oh, but it would seem that this is Battler Sama's time to shine. Well, I'd like to listen to all your favourite theories, both mystery and fantasy. This isn't your game right now. No matter how much you future fragments try to deny us, this is no time for me to be defeated. The golden glint gathered in Battler's hand. It was so bright that the whole hall was bathed in gold. Golden butterflies flitted about, as though the whole room was being swallowed up by the golden land. Battler lifted his golden longsword high. Feel free to challenge Beto's game as a mystery or fantasy. I welcome it. But I'm not going to let you deny this final game of mine. Feel the shame of your indiscretion, of impugning the honour of those who have passed away. A slice of the golden longsword flooded the hall with a sea of golden light. Is that going to kill all the goats? Then the whole group of goats clambering about the hall turned into clouds of gold butterflies and scattered. Even so, only about 100 of them had been wiped out. Before long, the massive crowds of goats outside would probably come pouring in. Oh. The seal Gertrude and the others are working on will be finished in a bit. Sorry, but I'll have to ask you to hold out here a little longer. Of course, Lord Battler. Otherwise, we won't get the show off. Show off what? You don't do anything. You know, you two could try fighting just a little. Exactly! But where? Just the MCs. Their excessively blunt refusal drew a few strange smiles. However, it lessened the tension in the room just a bit. Battler-sama, leave this to us. What are MCs? Am I being thick? We won't allow the erosion to proceed any further. And not one of us will be left behind. Of course. We are all precious pieces on Lord Battler's game board. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, the Chester Sisters' corpse, and everyone else nodded forcefully. Yeah. I'm counting on all of you. We'll definitely protect this final game I made for Angie. They're managing to hold their ground down below. The door to the Golden Land continues to open slowly. It'll still take some time though. That's right. We better start buying some time ourselves. The sea of goats that covered the ground below them was jostling about more and more. By now even the sea surrounding the island had disappeared. The horizon was gone, and the chewed up island was now floating on an eerie emptiness like space. The goats that flooded the edges of Rokkenjima seemed to be spilling off the sides. Looks like that's it for this game board. As long as there's a game master in pieces, the game board can always be laid out again. As long as you have two people together, you can create any sort of game. True. Where on earth is Angie? Where did you hide that? That's right, the chapel. What's happened to the chapel? It's still there. Is she still unlocking the book? The chapel looked like a white building floating in the pitch black sea of goats. Yes, this was strange. There's no way those goats, who consumed everything, would go out of their way to avoid just the chapel. That's where Angie is. Outside the chapel was a sea of goats. Very soon the earth around the chapel would be eaten away, and it would probably end up floating on nothingness. The rampage of the goats, as they devoured everything and recited the tragedies they had imagined, was truly making a lot of noise. However, none of that reached inside the chapel. Angie finally broke the magic seal on the entrance and stepped inside. The seal was supposed to be unbreakable by anyone. However, in the face of Angie Beatrice, Witch of Truth, the one who sought the truth and could sweep aside all forces that prevented her from finding it, no barrier was absolute. There it is. A single book, tightly locked, rested on the altar. It was the hidden diary that Ashurmaya Eva had continued to write in, even in her later years. The Book of the Single Truth. It was the one Featherin had shown her in the world of 1998. I really like the look of that key. This time, I have the key. I gripped the gold key that sat in my pocket, the key Oni-chan gave me, the one that looks like a butterfly. I like that. As I approached the altar, I saw that the Book of the Single Truth was wrapped in a strange bending of the light. So this is that seal of the Game Master that Burncastle talked about. The Book of the Single Truth was sealed in something like a crystal. It was a seal made by the Game Master's authority. This was on a different level than the breakable magic seal on the chapel door. No matter how Angie used her power as a Witch of Truth, this couldn't be broken by anyone except the Game Master. However, this time, Battler wasn't the only Game Master. So sorry, Oni-chan. Burncastle's a Game Master too. I just need to take this to her and have her break the seal. Angie slowly approached the altar. Will Angie really do as you say? This is my little sister we're talking about, so yeah, probably not. Then what will we do? Looks like we've got nothing to go on but brute force. At that moment, a fierce impact hit the pair of them. Beater was flung away, and Battler was sealed inside a massive crystal that extended up to the heavens. Damn, what the hell is this? Battler, what is this? It was a barrier, a massive cage of crystal. Battler was shut inside a crystal cage like a tower, so large that you had to look up to see the top. Beto, I need you to take care of Angie. What will you do? Can you break free from this all by yourself from the inside? Is this a closed room barrier? Who could have? There's only one person who challenged me with a closed room. Looks like our final guest has arrived. Final guest? You don't mean... Go and take care of Angie. Beto left Battler to handle this on his own and headed for the chapel. Battler took a deep breath and smiled daringly. I've been waiting for you. Was it boring in that depths of oblivion place? The answer was a laugh. Yeah, that's right. That laugh is enough. Looks like you're doing well. It wasn't boring. After all, I believed. I'll bet you did. I believed too. Battler flung off the cape of the Territory Lord. It would only get in the way. And it would be a rude way to welcome his final guest. Those dark depths were the perfect place to think up mysteries I could fight you with when we met again. So this crystal cage is the ring for our duel. A chain deathmatch with nowhere to run. Now that you mention it, we're always fighting over closed rooms with chains. Then let's use that. Make it a real chain deathmatch. I'm prepared, but what about you? I am. I told you, didn't I? I believe too. At the same time, they both brandished their mysteries, sealing the other in a chained closed room. Come, Frodo, Erica. Oh, I should have guessed. Entertain me, Battler Shran. What? At the same time, they were both sealed inside a closed room locked with a chain, like in the other arc. Of course, it was easy to set and unset the chain from the inside. However, stepping into their opponent's chained room would be difficult. They were fighting to the death with two chained closed rooms at once. There could be no better closed room duel for these two, who battled with theories concerning chained rooms so often. Frodo Erica committed suicide, died in an accident, died of an illness, died by some reason other than homicide. It wasn't a suicide, it wasn't an accidental death, it wasn't a death by illness, I really was killed by you, Battler-san. It was a murder committed by slipping poison gas through the crack of the door, by filling the room with water and drowning you, by sucking the oxygen out of the room and making you suffocate. There was no poison gas, there was no drowning, there was no death by suffocation. A closed room murder with poison gas, death by drowning, suffocation. Crazy, right? It's funny, isn't it? Good. Ashramaya Battler committed suicide. He died in an accident. He was killed by an illness. Time for me to test your closed room. Red truth. Ashramaya Battler was stabbed to death. Let's say the weapon was a knife, stuck right into his back. Good. Nothing beats a classic closed room. Then why don't you try it too? I'll take that challenge with the red truth. Frodo Erica was stabbed to death. The weapon was a knife stuck right in her back. Interesting. I'll take a closed room to bits. What's this supposed to be? Battler's busy at the moment. For now, I shall be your opponent. I think with those two up in the sky, it don't really matter what closed rooms are on about. They're just distracting each other from what's going on here, maybe. Beto had sealed the chapel with a closed room barrier. Unless that riddle was smashed with blue truth, Angie wouldn't be able to leave. After shrugging impatiently, Angie finally faced Beto. This might be the first time I've fought you directly. Oh, is it now? Very well, let's see what you got. However, Battler isn't here at the moment. When he's not around, I sometimes forget to hold back. What a coincidence. I feel the same. I killed you inside a perfect closed room, with windows, doors and all other methods of entry or exit blocked. Okay, I'll play along with your game. Repeat it. Oh, that's where... Right, okay. That was a long one. I just feel like I want to get to know the actual truth of what happened now. Considering we're coming to the end. You know, I don't know how long this last arc will be or anything. But considering we're coming towards the end-ish. I just want to know what actually happened by this point. And all this magic and stuff going on. It just seems like filler. A bit of filler. Interesting enough. But just filler. Anyway, that's where we're going to end things off here. This has been Greeny XI. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in a bit. When, I guess we're going back to that room. I don't even know what the room is called. With Aurora or Feathering or whatever. So thanks again for watching, folks. See you again in a bit.